I received a couple of voicemails from viewers who are offering some constructive criticism of the show. So the first one here is from Charlie. So let's hear what he has to say.
I'm a progressive, an independent voter. I certainly oppose Trump and his campaign and think it is a tragedy. I understand that Hillary was voted for by many because they didn't want the same corruption. The situation now is extreme. I've listened to your broadcasts on YouTube, and I have a suggestion, period. I would suggest very strongly that you stop using phrases like party of death. I absolutely agree about the corruption in the political scene, especially the Republican Party. Not that the Democrats are angels, but I think you're going to drive people off by using these extreme terms.
So first of all, thank you so much for the message, because I think that what you are saying, I think there's some truth to it. So I do agree with you, but I do think there's a caveat. So if I do say terms like Republicans are the party of death, I don't think I'm going to convince any conservative to come onto my side, because that type of rhetoric, it is seemingly bombastic. But the caveat is that I'm not saying that Republicans are the party of death to be hyperbolic. I'm saying it because I think it's literally true. I mean, when you think about how the Congressional Budget Office found out that under their new healthcare proposal, 52 million people would be uninsured, when you see how they continuously beat the war drums. They started the Iraq War, which led to the death of 100,000 people at a minimum. I mean, that's a conservative estimate. It was probably upwards of 500,000, but at a minimum, they killed 100,000 people because of their unnecessary war, because they lied about Iraq having weapons of mass destruction. But on the other hand, I totally agree with your point. I think it's not going to be conducive to me making any allies among the right of people who I could convert. And I've had some people reach out to me who said, look, I was a conservative, I voted Republican my whole life, but you got me to be progressive. But I think that number is going to be a lot smaller if I continue to call Republicans the party of death, even if I do believe it's true. So, thanks for the feedback. I think that you have a point here, so I'll definitely take that into consideration. Honestly, I can't promise that I'm not going to call them the party of death, because they do piss me off quite a lot sometimes. But, I'll keep your criticism at the back of my mind, because I think that there's some truth to it. So this other message is from Ross. So let's hear what he has to say.
Where to even start? I like you. I need more progressive voices. But just please stop with the backbiting. If people on your team, they're not agreeing with 100% of the things you say, doesn't mean that you should attack them. Thanks a lot. See you later.
Thank you so much, Ross, for the message. So, I don't necessarily know what you mean by saying that I'm backbiting, because when you say that someone is backbiting, I think that you are implying that there's malicious intent, but I'm not trying to be malicious. I don't know if it appears that way or not, but I'm not trying to be malicious. I'm trying to be constructive of my criticism of Democrats, even though sometimes I call them idiots and dumbasses. My whole overarching goal is to educate them on why they're wrong. So I would like to know what you mean by me backbiting. Specifically, I mean, are you averse to the idea of me criticizing corporate Democrats like Cory Booker? Because I think that if we don't criticize people like Cory Booker, for example, then we're going to get screwed over. And I think that it's important that we do call out Democrats as well as Republicans, because we saw what happened. I mean, when Republicans took office on their first day of this recent congressional session, they tried to repeal an ethics watchdog, or basically gut an ethics watchdog. And when we flooded their offices with phone calls, they immediately reversed course. When Cory Booker decided to vote against a bill that would have allowed for the importation of prescription drugs from Canada, he reversed course once he got backlash. So I think that, what you refer to as backbiting, I think that you're alluding to the fact that I should probably stop criticizing people who don't agree with me on 100% of the issues, but I acknowledge that I'm not going to agree with people on 100% of the issues, and I could still make allies with those people. However, with that being said, I do think it's important to call people out when they're wrong. For example, if I agree with someone on 99.9% of the issues, and on just that one issue, I disagree with them. Single-payer healthcare. I think that I can legitimately critique that person because there are some issues to me that I feel as though they're just non-negotiable. If you're not in favor of single-payer, then you're in favor of some people not having insurance, and that will lead to people dying or going bankrupt if they get sick, and I just don't think that that's something that I'm willing to yield an inch on at all. I mean, if you are in favor of wars, I just can't see how I can be with you on that. If you think that we shouldn't get money out of politics, if you think that transparency is the end all be all to money in politics, I can't agree with you. So there's nuance to the world. Just because I criticize someone doesn't mean I hate them. I mean, I could acknowledge that Cory Booker, even though he's a loathsome Democrat, he's still better than Jeff Sessions, who's just a racist. So, I mean, there's nuance to the world, and criticizing these people doesn't imply that I support Republicans more than Democrats. But I think that you have to have a two-pronged approach in this day and age. You've got to hold Trump and the Republicans accountable. You have to. Because Democrats are not an effective opposition party, but on the other side of the coin here, you've got to hold Democrats accountable. You've got to critique them, because if you don't, they're going to continue to think that they're doing everything right, and we will continue to have the same Republican-controlled Congress and White House and state legislatures and governorships for a while. So, I definitely will take what you're saying into consideration about me being more harsh on my criticism, maybe, but, I think that I would find a follow-up voice message helpful, Ross. So thank you, though. Thank you to both of you. I'm definitely inclined to hear out any criticism, and I think that what both of these gentlemen are saying, they have some truth, and I do find this helpful. So thank you so much for the voice messages. If you'd like to leave me a message, you could visit humanistreport.com. I don't always get to listen to all of them because I get a lot, but, feel free.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.